Good morning and welcome to Soft Design Lab's first Take 10 of 2016. Today we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions and a list that Jackie and I have curated of 15 resolutions you should make this year. So let's just dive right in. Morning, Jackie. Hope everything is well with you. So the first resolution is one that Jackie and I definitely take to heart, and that's drink more champagne. If you've been on social media in the last 6 weeks, you know that there's been a scientific study that shows that drinking more champagne is good for your health. So, of course, we had to add it as one of our New Year's resolutions. But again, to be a little bit more serious, let's move on to some of the other resolutions that we that we curated for you. You know, New Year's resolutions really are all about sort of getting back on track and making those changes, whether it's professional or personal, so that you can have the best year yet. And one of them is creating an evening ritual that helps you wind down at the end of the day. This is one that Jackie and I are really going to try to stick to this year, because we find ourselves working in the evening in front of the computer screen, turn it off when we're done, and just kind of drag ourselves and dump into bed for the next day. And we really don't have a ritual or a routine that allows our body and our body clock to kind of ease in, which then allows you to have better sleep. So, you know, think about how you can, you know, what ritual you enjoy that you can do on an evening basis every night to help you relax and prepare for bed, whether it's a shower, a facial. I know Jackie loves those little facials in a bag kind of scenarios and uses those. Reading, maybe it's stretching, yoga, something like that. Eucalyptus oil and socks. You know, maybe it's finding an essence oil, you know, putting it in a bowl of hot water, putting your head down on it with a towel over your head, and just breathing in a calming oil. And socks, I mentioned this because as we were looking at some of the resolutions that were out there, is your body temperature nightly starts to cool down just before bedtime. And if you've got cold feet, it actually cools the body down a little too much to give you optimal sleep. So the suggestion is before you go to bed, put athletic socks on, because that will help you control and maintain your core temperature and give you better sleep. Number 3, skip the juice cleanse and do a digital detox instead. I am definitely going to do this. I am finding myself, you know, procrastinating and being busy on digital devices and not being productive. So the experts suggest that if you're going to do a digital detox, you want to do a minimum of 24 hours and ideally 72 hours, because it gives yourself a chance to sort of step back. There's a big enough time period where when you return to that device, you feel a little bit more productive, recharged, and you actually have a little bit different perspective. So, you know, it's also a possibility that when you do walk away, that then it clears your head a bit and your ideas start to come too. So skip the cleanse, do the digital detox instead. Number 4, cross at least one destination off your travel bucket list. I did this in a big way this year, and I have to tell you, it was life-changing in a lot of ways. About a year and 3 months ago, I made the decision to put it out into the universe of what I wanted to do. I'd been thinking about it and dreaming about it actually since college, but really never talked about it. And I thought, you know what, I gotta, you know, they say you gotta put it out in the universe to make it happen, and I did, and it did happen. I rented a house and spent 6 weeks in the south of France this fall, and it was, as Diane Ackerman's quote is, I don't want to get to the end of my life and find that I've lived only the length of it. I want to have lived the width of it as well. And that is just so true. So no matter where it is, what the destination is, domestic, international, down the block, put it out there in the universe and do it this year. Cross it off your bucket list. Number 5, set a professional goal and do everything in your power to make it happen. We had to put something in about goal setting, and that was a little bit more traditional New Year's resolution. It's about, when you're setting goals though, it's about giving yourself a chance to succeed. So what we would say is, if you're going to set a goal, make sure it's very specific. Nothing big picture. That's a vision. That's for vision boards and dreams. It's about specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and it has a deadline. So just those are the SMART, quote unquote, acronyms for setting goals. And do this if you're a goal setter or a list maker. This might be the way that you can move forward and make some changes in 2016, both professionally and personally. Number 6, declutter your workspace. I know a lot of you have been doing that. I see online in the social media channels people's comments about cleaning out their office and getting ready, etc. But we decided we wanted to kind of talk a bit more about that, because number 1, we all spend probably more than 8 hours a day in that office area. And number 2, it's interesting that trend forecasters, including House Beautiful, have said that there's going to be a return of the desk, or i.e. a dedicated workspace area in the home in 2016. Basically, the honeymoon period is over for sitting up in bed with your laptop or slouching around on the family room sectional. It's about reserving the family room and the bedroom for other things and creating a dedicated workspace, if you will. So think about how you would decorate a client's home office, and treat yourself in 2016 and do it to your workspace. And while you're decluttering and organizing, number 7 is toss your tax documents before 2008. So when we were, both Jackie and I were cleaning up our office areas, this topic came up. It's like, okay, I've got all this paperwork, whether it's clients' files, tax files, what do I do with them? Do I toss them? Do I shred them? Do I burn them? Do I scan them and do them digitally? My suggestion is, if you have really important files that you're really not sure you should get rid of, then scan them and keep them digitally in the cloud service. But if you've got tax and financial things from your business, you don't typically need to keep them from 2008 or before. But disclaimer here, check with your accountant before you go ahead and shred those documents, just to make sure you don't have an extenuating circumstance that he suggests you should save them. Number 8, I love this. This is on my resolution list, and I know Jackie's, it was on Jackie's last year, so she'll be, she's going to see the fruits of her labors in 2016. And it's start and commit to a side project. So a side project isn't a hobby, and it isn't about killing time. It's really a way to formalize, if you will, your passion. When we started our business, we started it because we were passionate about one thing or another: design, window treatments, soft furnishings, space planning, accessories, and other things also. We had that entrepreneurial spirit. But as the day-to-day takes over, and we move through our career life cycle, sometimes we lose sight of that excitement and passion. So by committing to a side project, this is where you can experiment with some of those ideas that might be a little bit out of the box. You can get back to where that passion is. You can also develop, different skill sets. So think of what you might want to do. It can be anything. It does not have to be business or design related. It could be, learning to swim. You're passionate about the water, but you've never learned to swim, or you have a fear of the water. Maybe your side project is overcoming that this year. Maybe it's, opening an online store, writing a book, contributing to an open source project, developing an app, volunteering, and teaching your skills, teaching kids to sew, for example. Or maybe it's creating your own textiles. Whatever it is, start your project. And oh, by the way, if this resonates with you and you decide that this is going to go on your resolution list, keep us posted throughout the year. We love to know what your side project was and what the journey was. Number 9, immerse yourself with more design books. It's you are what you eat, you are what you consume, so consume more design books. There's several that we like as favorites. One of mine is Parrish Hadley, or any of the monographs that are out there on design icons. I learn a lot from learning about design icons and the design greats from the past. Right now, I'm kind of in my fashion mode and reading Charles James and Schiaparelli and Madeleine Vionnet for some of their couture techniques. So look into those kind of genres. The other one that I want to mention, and this came from my sister-in-law, and I found it interesting. So it's an organizational book and a decluttering book, but it's called Spark Joy. And the concept behind it is organizing and decluttering your life by only keeping the things that spark joy. And I have to tell you, she felt that this was a life-changing book for her. The light bulb went off. It was asking a simple question, does this item spark joy? If it doesn't, it goes someplace else because maybe it'll spark joy for somebody else. And she said she felt it's a very simple, book to read. She said you can go through it really fast. It's a really simple technique for organizational structure, and she found an epiphany when she read the book. So that's called Spark Joy. On another note, it's not necessarily a book, but it's a documentary that both Jackie and I have seen, and we highly, highly recommend it. Speaking of talking about design icons and design greats, on Netflix, it's streaming right now, is Iris, and it's about Iris Arpel. And if you're not familiar with who she is, she's the gal with the short gray hair and the big round dark eyeglasses. You've probably seen pictures of her. She's a muse to many, many designers. Anyway, it's a documentary on her life, and it's amazing. She started Old World Weavers with her husband, and their story and their journey through the design entrepreneurial process it's amazing. You're going to love it. It's really well done. Number 10, spend more time with your design family. It's about branching out, building relationships, breaking through that silo of isolation, and spending more time with other designers or, your team, so to speak, your design team. Let it be your sort of support group. If there isn't a chapter, for example, an association or chapter in your area, our suggestion is, pick up the phone. Call a couple of designers, say, hey, thinking about doing some meetups, once a month. Let's get together and have a glass of wine and talk. Let's have a salon, and maybe it'll grow into something more formal. But definitely this is really going to be well worth your time. Who doesn't like to, get out and be social? And sometimes we forget about that when we're sitting at our desk and or only working with clients. Number 11, maximize your most creative time. So this came out of a healthcare technology company, and it's really about figuring out when is your most creative time and then scheduling and doing your day schedule so that when you need to be creative, you're doing it in that time block. So if it's from 5 to 12 at night, then figure out a way to schedule so that you can have some creative time in that 5 to 12 vein, or maybe it's from 2 to 4. For me, a lot of times it's getting in the car and driving, to be honest. It's dashboard time. I know Jackie's is in the evening after dinner. So when is it, and how can you rework your schedule so that you can capitalize on it? On the other side of the coin, it's about number 12, which is knowing when not to be productive. when to give up things, to prioritize and just say, I used to tell my kids it used to be called a quote-unquote a mental health day, where you're just like going to play hooky and not do anything. I think we need one of those every once in a while. If you're looking for a really good list prioritizer, for me, I'm a to-do list kind of person, and I've got them all over. I've got the to-do for the house and the to-do for work and the to-do for personal errands or whatever it is. One task management tool that I find is great, it's an app, and so it goes on all your devices, and it's called Todoist, and so you can get all your tasks in one place. But what's really great about it is once they're all in one place, you can prioritize them and postpone them. So it's the idea of knowing that, you know what, I'm not going to get to this because I have a crisis, so I'm just going to postpone it to another day. And kind of visually walking through that helps you break through that procrastination. Number 13, we talked about your dream or your design family. Invite your dream team to lunch. Your dream team, maybe it's your installer, wallpaper hanger, tile guy, trusted client that's always referring business to you, whoever it is. Invite them to lunch. Have a conversation. What is it? Why did you come to me? You know, what do you like best about my, the way I work, or whatever it might be. You can certainly do sort of a face-to-face survey, or it could just be fun and having, lunch out with good friends. 14, declare war on paperwork. So it's really about not necessarily becoming a paperless office, because that can be a daunting task, and so none of us will want to jumpstart that, and we'll have a stumbling block. Can't wrap our head around it. But it is about what things can you automate? What are you doing all the time for every client? Whether it's the way you build your folders, it's the way you communicate with them, how can you automate it? So an example, if you're doing client folders and you're having to carry them around in Expando files or tubs in your car, can that be automated into a cloud service like Evernote, where you aren't having to lug stuff around? What about digital sampling instead of lugging sample books? It's also about outsourcing the things you don't want to do. It's not necessarily subcontracting out, though that's a part of it, but what are those tasks that you hate to do? Then, finding a virtual assistant. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full-blown admin. You can, my suggestion is if you're looking at virtual assistants, you want to just dip your toe into it. So do a project that's relatively small. Maybe it's posting on social media for 20 hours. Set a timeline and a deadline. Be very specific about what the task is and put a dollar price to it, and go on to a software program or platform like TaskRabbit and post it. You'll be surprised how many hits you'll get. Choose who might work well with you, and try it out. You take that stuff off of your plate. It's all about apping your way to efficiency. And last, number 15, create a vision board. It's about linking those dreams, those emotions, those visions, the what I want to do, big picture, to your daily business routine. And you do this visually with a vision board, a cork board that's by your desk. So every day you're looking at those pictures and trying to move toward completing some of those dreams or checking something off your bucket list, whatever it might be. When we were curating these resolutions, we came across a couple of different approaches that we also thought were interesting and we wanted to share with you. So the typical, writing down New Year's resolution, going back to them over the year, have you accomplished it? That's a little bit much, and it's sometimes for some people, and it's sort of that all or nothing ultimatum. And so this approach is a little bit different. It's 5 pretty powerful questions that you ask yourself at the beginning of the year and write down the answers, and then revisit it, let's say quarterly or monthly, because it's all about focusing on growth and development. And so maybe what you thought was going to happen or what you wanted to happen in January has taken you in a different path in March. And so when you revisit these questions in March, that's when you're going to, cross off and adjust it and adapt it to what you need at that particular time. So it's a snapshot throughout the year, if you will, of how you're moving forward. So the first question is, what should I start in 2016? What new habit? What new skill? What new venture? What new adventure? You know, where do I want to begin? It's always about remembering first that you always start where you're at. I liken it to the odometer on a car. You know, when the calendar changes to the 1st of January 2016, the odometer number is there that you have to, you know, take for your tax purposes. That's where you're at the beginning of the year. So it's the snapshot of where you're at, what you have to work with, what you can do, what you can't do. The whole idea here is don't plan it, just say it and start it. The second question is, what should I stop in 2016? You know, what keeps getting you stuck? Why are you procrastinating? Sometimes it's bad habits, sometimes it's negative thinking, but what has kept you from being small, if you will, and not being big? So don't worry about failure or what you have to lose, but focus on what you have to gain. Number 3 is, what should I do more of? The idea of, you know, what are those memories that I always go back to that I need to do more of? More travel, more laughter, more love, more fun, more happiness, more goofiness, whatever it is, more learning. You know, what is it that works for you, nurtures you, and then make it happen. Number 4 is, should I do less of? Negativity, fear, overscheduling, stress, anxiety, less sleep. Yeah, you get the point there, right? Remember? So it's remembering to let the bad stuff go and clearing it out, because it's going to let more good stuff in. And then what should I continue? Maybe it's something that you're already working on, that you're finding that you're really enjoying, and so now you want to make it a habit. Again, analogy, exercise. You know, you start exercising and you hate those first 2 or 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you're on the treadmill one day and you realize you've been doing this for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and you're like, you know, this isn't so bad. I'm kind of enjoying this. You know, my endorphins are coming out, and I like this time frame where I can, you know, do whatever it is that you do. So then continue to learn what those things are and put those into your life. And the third approach, if you will, is in sort of a case study, if I might, is from a gal named Danielle Laporte that I follow online. And it's a slight twist on your yearly review, but it can be very, very illuminating, and here are the steps. And she walked through this and did this with a friend, and then she wrote about it in a blog post. So for her, she and her friend were sitting down, having a drink, discussing what had happened from a business perspective the last week, and said, you know, she's like, I've got some really big decisions that I have to make, and I'm just really not sure how to go about them. And her friend said to her, and her friend, by the way, was not only a personal friend, but had become a close business advisor and was helping her in some team building and things. And so she said, you know, here's what we're going to do. I'm giving you 3 minutes. I want you to write down all the highlights of last year. Don't think about it. Just write whatever comes into your mind. What is it that, you know, you loved and was a highlight? You know, the salt water in Hawaii, learning to play guitar, you know, meeting somebody, you know, having dinner with somebody else, you know, getting into a relationship. You got a great haircut. You know, what about a trip? What about, you know, the first snowfall of the year? Whatever it is, write it all down, 3 minutes, over and done. Then hand the list over to your friend. It has to be done with 2 people, maybe more. Have them look it over, and what I'll ask them to point out what they think you missed, number 1, and what patterns they see. Because you might have voiced your passion, love, excitement, happiness to your friend throughout the year. She remembers it, but you don't, for example, you know, a sunrise, a sunset, whatever it might be. And then they're also going to be able to point out what's patterns are there, what things are on the list and that aren't. For Danielle, one of the things was she said, you know, you didn't mention anything on here about the fact that you made X amount of dollars in your business, you know, over the year. And she's like, oh yeah, the money, yeah, I did do good, but oh gosh, I did forget to do it. So then the third step is, what patterns do you see? You're looking at the list. What gives you joy? What was big that didn't make it on the list? And then pull those two lists together. Think about it. What moved you? What mattered to you most? Make the laundry list, and then make the short list and find 5 things that you want to focus on in the next year that were from that list. And it's sort of a bit more big picture for Danielle in the case study. She said it was all about freedom and relationships when she started looking at the list and the pattern. It was about, one of the things was getting out of a bad relationship, which then gave her freedom, and from that freedom she did all these memorable things that really meant a lot to her. And so she's going to focus on that aspect of freedom and relationships in 2016. So this might also be a great approach for all of you to work. So thanks so much for coming along with us on our resolution journey, if you will. Hope you found 1 or 2 that resonated with you, and you go back and add it to your list or start a list. Here are the TakeTen webinars that are coming up. In February, after we do our first round of design trade shows, you'll have first look at Heimtextile, M&O, and Deco-Off. In February 19th, we have Fabric Savvy, and in March 11th, we have the power of the decorative pillow. So thanks all for coming today, and we'll see you soon online, if not face-to-face at a show. Thanks.